In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these crocheted roses. These are really great to use just on their own as decorations, or you can add them to other crocheted pieces such as hats or bags or sweaters, or you can make them like I've done here before with smaller weight yarn, and I've added a little felt circle on the back with an alligator clip to turn them into hair bows. So multiple uses. Let's get started. For materials, I have some worsted weight yarn and a 5mm hook. Now you can go up or down in yarn and hook size depending on the size of rose that you want to make. I also have a tapestry needle and a pair of scissors. And then as an option, you may want to have a pen or a pencil or something to help form your rose. To begin, we're going to start with a foundation chain. Now I like to leave about 4 to 6 inches on the end of my chain, and I'll show you why at the very end when we're sewing. And I'm going to make a slip knot, place it on my hook, and we're going to chain 57. So chaining, you're going to wrap the yarn around your hook and pull it through. And then just continue to chain until you have 57 chains all together. And if you like, you can pause the video and I will meet you back here after you've had 57 chains. Okay, so now we have our 57 chains, and for row number 1, we're just going to be making V-stitches. Now, V-stitches are going to be the base for each of the petals that make up the rose. So to start our first V, we're actually going to count the last 5 chains as part of the V. So we're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in the 6th chain from the hook, I kind of like to hold my thumb right here, we're going to work a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook into that 6th chain, grab the yarn and pull it through. We now have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And so now we have our very first V, and it's out here on the end. So from this point forward, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to skip 2 stitches and we're going to chain 1. So chain 1, skip the next 2 chains, and in the 3rd chain, we're going to make another V. So to make that V, we're going to make a double crochet, chain 2, and then work another double crochet in that same chain. So when we hold it right like this, you can see the next V. So chain 1 again, skip the next 2 chains, and then work another V in that 3rd chain. So double crochet, chain 2, and then work another double crochet. And you're going to continue to do that all the way until you get to the end. So the repeat for this is to chain 1, skip 2, and then work a V-stitch in that 3rd chain after the skip 2. Continue to do that, and I will meet you back here right when we get to the very last V. Now I'm coming up to the end of my row, and if you notice that your V's are starting to curl, that's perfectly fine. We actually want that to happen because it's going to help form the shape of the rose. So we have 3 chains left. So I'm going to chain 1, skip the next 2, and work in that very last chain right where we made that slip knot in the very beginning. I'm going to work my last V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And now we're going to flip everything over for row 2. For row 2, we're going to be working into the center of each of these V-stitches in this chain 2 space. So we should have 18 V-stitches all together, and we're going to divide that by 3. So in the first set of 6 V's, we're going to make treble crochets. In the next set of 6 V's, we're going to work double crochets. And in the last 6, we're going to make half double crochets. So to begin, I'm going to chain 3. Now this counts as our first treble. If you prefer, you can chain 4 for your trebles. And we're going to make 9 more treble crochets. So this counts as number 1, so we're making 10 altogether. So 9 more. I'm going to yarn over twice and then insert my hook into that V right in that chain 2 space. Grab the yarn and pull up a loop. I have 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, let's do that a couple more times. Yarn over twice, insert, grab the yarn and pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have 1, 2, 3. We need to make 7 more. So I'm just going to work a little bit quickly here to show what we do after we make that first petal. So I have 6 now. There's 7. 8. There's 9. So here's our last treble. So we'll have 10 trebles all together. And then if you remember in our last row, we had that chain 1 space where we skipped 2 and chain 1. In those chain 1 spaces, you work a single crochet. So you're just going to insert, grab the yarn and pull it through. 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through those, and that's our single crochet. So for the pattern repeat from this point forward, we're going to work that single crochet, and in the next 5 of these V stitches, we're going to work 10 trebles. So 10 trebles in each of the V's, and then 1 single in each of the chain 1 spaces. So if you'd like, you can pause the video, and after you've finished the 6th V on here, which will be your last set of trebles, I'll show you what to do next. I just finished my last treble crochet on the 6th petal that I made here, and you can see how the little petals are starting to form. If you notice, this is kind of really twisted, and it just kind of looks like a little bit of a mess, but don't worry, that's actually going to help us out when we go to form the rows later on. So if you're looking at it and you're like, that doesn't look right, don't worry. We're going to single crochet into that chain 1 space just like we've done before, and all that does is just kind of helps anchor the petal down. So we have our next 6 V's that we're going to be working into, and we're going to put 8 double crochets into each of those V's. So we did double crochets in the last row when we made those V's. So yarn over, insert, pull the yarn through, pull through 2, pull through 2. So I'm going to work fairly quickly here so I can show you what to do next. 2, 4, 5. I need 3 more. And then just like before, after I've gotten my 8th double crochet, I'm going to work into that chain 1 space from the previous row and just anchor it with a single crochet. So in the next set of 5 V's, work 8 double crochets, followed by that single crochet in the space between. And if you'd like to pause the video, I will meet you back here when those are finished. And I've just finished my last double crochet on that last petal there. So I'm going to work a single crochet in the space in between. There should be 6 V's left. Now we're going to work 6 half double crochets into each of these. So we worked 10 trebles, 8 doubles, and now we're going to work 6 half doubles. So yarn over, insert your hook into the space, grab your yarn and pull it through. There's 3 loops on the hook, and for a half double, we're just going to yarn over and pull through all 3. We'll do that a couple more times. yarn over, insert your hook, grab the yarn and pull it through, yarn over and pull through 3. There's 3, 4, and 6. And then once again anchoring that petal down by doing a single crochet in that chain space in between. So we'll work in the last 5 V-stitches here, and when we get to the end, after you've done the 6th half double crochet, you can unpause the video and I'll show you what to do next. And I've just made my last half double crochet in that final V-stitch, and where we anchored the stitches before with a single crochet, I just like to go right back into the same space and just do a slip stitch just to kind of fasten it off. And now we're going to leave about I would say about 12 inches, because we're going to use this long strand to sew. It's always better to have more yarn than not enough. So the first couple times you might want to do 12 to 14 inches, and you may not need as much. So we're going to snip that yarn and pull it through. And now we're going to form the rows and sew it together. So now we're at the fun part where we get to shape our rows. If you noticed, you have the larger petals where we have the treble crochets and the smaller petals. We want the larger petals to be on the bottom of the rows and the smaller petals to kind of wind up and be in the center top part of the rows. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this, and you're just going to have to play around with it and find which one works best for you. You want to make sure that this tail kind of stays out of the way. You can take the petals, the larger ones, and start with those and just kind of keep wrapping like this until you get them kind of layered on top of each other. And then you can just kind of slowly twist these around and work it until it starts to take the shape. Another thing that you can do if that method doesn't work for you is this is where we had the pen that I suggested. You can start from the top and just simply wrap those around the pen. Now this is going to be really tight. You can see how it's kind of really squished on top of each other. It honestly depends on what kind of shape you want for your rose. As you know, with real roses, some of them are more open and some of them aren't. You're going to end up with one that's really stacked. But you can take that then and kind of untwist them. So either method is completely fine. It's going to be what works best for you. I actually kind of like that. The main thing that you want to be sure of is that your petals are not stacked directly on top of each other. You're going to want to move them a little bit to make sure that they're kind of staggered and they're not directly on top of each other, and that this centerpiece is the kind of the most twisted part of it. That actually doesn't look too bad. So let's start there. So what I'm going to do is take the end of this really long strand, and we have our short strand at the bottom, and I'm going to thread a tapestry needle, and I'm going to go right down the center of that rose and start sewing. So if it's not 100% the way that you want it, you can fix it a little bit as you sew. So I'm going to take my tapestry needle and go right down the center of that rose, and you can see here at the bottom, I'm going to pull that through. That was that piece of yarn from the bottom, and there you can see that little cute little curl in the center of the rose. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to go kind of around the whole bottom perimeter here, and I kind of want to catch in those V's and go right back up through the center and capture all of those layers as much as possible. Going back down again. And you may want to do this a few times here. Just making sure that all of those layers are getting captured. It's kind of like a lasagna. Go back down through. I'm going to do this one more time here. So I went off camera here a little bit. And one more time. And I'm going to kind of go off to this direction this time and get those. And this may take a couple of attempts before you really get a shape that you really like. So the first few times you make your rose, you might just want to make it out of scrap yarn, because you might do it a few times before you decide on a shape that you really like. I really like this one. So then when you get to the end and you've got the shape that you want, you have these 2 strands. Just go ahead and do a quick little knot. I always like to do my knots 3 times just to be sure. And then depending on what you're doing with the piece at the end, if you're using it to attach it to another piece like a hat or a bag or a sweater, you can then use these strands to tie it on. You can also weave in the ends and add a piece of felt on the bottom if you want to make sure that this part is finished off. It's completely up to you. So that is how you make the crochet roses. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to my channel for more crochet tutorials.